big hello from Raleigh, North Carolina. I have a special guest today for B2B marketing and more, AJ Wilcox, and he is a LinkedIn ads expert. I heard about his interview with Mike Stelzner on Social Media Examiner channel, the YouTube channel, and I found him fascinating and direct and honest. I really love a lot of responses and answers that he provided during that interview. So here I am inviting him as a part of my guest. Welcome, AJ.
Pam, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks so much.
Actually, I have done like over 200 episodes of a B2B marketing. A majority of stuff I talk about tend to be organic and also B2B process, demand generation, very boring topics, whatever.
Not boring at all. Those are my favorite things.
Saddest part is me too. And those are like boring topic. And when I talk about B2B marketing to anybody else, they're like, really, Pam? Can we talk about something else? Yeah, it's my favorite topic as well. So LinkedIn pay ads. You know what? If I'm not mistaken, LinkedIn pay ads are pretty expensive. Is it working?
I think you called it out right. If anyone has ever tried to advertise on LinkedIn, the very first reaction is, oh my gosh, this looks so expensive.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's terrible. The average cost per click that we see with our clients is $8 to $13 per click. And of course, you look at it and say,
that's very expensive.
Yeah. And then, of course, you look at it and say, well, I'm only paying $2 to $4 per click on Facebook.
2 cents for the Facebook ads, or like $1 for the Twitter ads. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very different. But what is so neat about LinkedIn ads, the reason why they do still work, the reason why costs continue to rise, some people are paying $20, $30, $40 per click and still having a return on their investment. The whole reason why is because LinkedIn gives us this ability to target people by who they are. We can target their exact job titles and industry and company size. We can target them by specific company names, their level of seniority, their location, and everything I've mentioned is probably only about 1/6 of all of the targeting options that we have. So if you look at it with LinkedIn, you can make sure that every single one of your clicks and every one of your leads comes from an ideal prospect. Whereas on Facebook, your sales team is going to come back and say, hey, we had to disqualify 95% of your leads. Oh, but that 5% was pretty good. Keep it up.
Given that it's very expensive, cost per click, and just like you said, it ranges pretty widely from like $7 or $8, even as high as $40 and $50. This is something that small businesses can really afford, or even mid-sized company. And if they want to do it very sustainable type of manner, pay ads is really a long play. And I always tell my client, if you decide to do pay, you have to do it for at least 12 to 18 months. Right? It's not something you should stop and then do it, stop and do it. It's not like a paid campaign. So you have to do it for a long period of time. So how much budget does a company need? This is something that small business can afford.
So short answer is yes. We've worked with many very small companies. We've also worked with many of the largest, the Fortune 500, and everything in between. What we found, the limiting factor for companies is budget.
No kidding.
Yeah, duh. But it's really important on any channel to make sure that you generate enough data that you can tell whether or not something's working. And if you go in and just spend the very minimum that you can on LinkedIn, which is $10 a day.
Don't bother.
Just spend $300 in a month. That'll give you a handful of clicks. You will not be any closer to finding out if it's a channel that works. So what I recommend is if you're going to approach LinkedIn ads, don't do it with less than about a $5,000 per month budget.
Got it. I like that.
Just make sure that you are set to spend $5,000 before you shut it off. So if your budget is only like $1,500 a month, great. Just make sure you are running it for at least 3 months before you make the decision to cut it or increase.
This is great. I love that. So basically minimal $5,000 a month. And if not, run like $5,000 before you stop.
Yes.
That's great advice. A lot of time I know when I talk to anybody who's managed the pay media part of it, they are very hesitant to provide budget information. And I'm always looking for like, hey, you know what? Is it possible to provide some sort of budget guidance? Because pay is really, really dictated by number of the budget that you have. And you brought a very good point. Number one thing is you run $5,000 as long as you can. The other question I want to ask, which is kind of on top of that as well, if you do have $5,000, how long should you run? Of course, you're going to say as long as possible, but minimal level.
For me, advertising is very much a linear process. You're going to spend money and you're going to get impressions. And then those impressions are going to turn into clicks. And then a certain percentage of those clicks will turn into conversions. And then a certain number of those conversions can become sales qualified or marketing qualified leads. A certain percentage of, I'm preaching to the choir here, but for me, it depends on what level of confidence that you want. If you just want to find out, like, what is my cost per lead from this channel going to be? Yeah, you could spend for 2-3 months and go, oh, looks like my cost per lead is $80.
Okay, I got some baseline. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But if your goal is to find out what is my ROI from LinkedIn ads, like, yeah, you're going to have to look at how long is my sales cycle and how long does it take us to nurture these leads to close. And maybe you're going to be in this for 2, 3, 4 years before you have statistical significance around that data. So it really is up to you. But I would say if you are running against Facebook ads, hands down, Facebook ads is always going to be a lower cost per lead because the cost per click was cheaper. But when you follow that into your CRM, you look further down the sales cycle, you're going to find that, wow, because LinkedIn's targeting was so good at getting the right people, even though we're paying more for it, by the time you're looking at your cost per sales qualified lead or your cost per proposal sent or your cost per closed deal, all of a sudden LinkedIn looks really good compared to Facebook. But so many people were scared off by it because of the initial high costs that they never gave it a real chance.
You know, I'm very, very happy you brought up one key point when I asked you in terms of like, how long should we run kind of like a paid media for a specific channel? And you mentioned one thing, I love it so much. It's, well, depending on your purchase cycle, right? If it takes like 8 to 12 months to actually convert a lead, B2B marketing tends to be longer purchasing cycle. Chances are you need to run that purchasing cycle to get a sense, to get a statistically sample data to see if that actually do the conversion. I love that when you brought that as a part of the conversation. Fantastic. Well said, AJ.
Well, it was so funny. It's been a year or so ago, but we actually had a client who left after 3 months. And we asked, well, why are you quitting? Why did you decide to stop advertising on LinkedIn? And he said, well, we haven't closed the deal yet. And we were like, but it's only been 3 months and your sales cycle is 9 months. And it just was a giant face palm. They didn't get it, which is fine. Every client's a little bit different.
Majority of marketers, especially in the B2B side, there are two things I have noticed. One is some of them have the instant gratification mentality. You know, I spend and I do the pay ads, I need to get the results right away. But that's not the reality. And then the second thing is a lot of marketers are also under pressure from their management. So the management finally approved a set of budget for them to do pay ads. And the management also have this expectation, hey, here's a $50,000. What? You spent $50,000 in 3 months? We have not even closed a deal. It must not be working. But they are not looking from the perspective. Their salespeople can take 9 months to close the deal. But when they spend that money only for 3 months, they were like, oh my God, we fail miserably. So I understand where you're coming from. And there's one thing I always tell my clients is like, you need to set expectation, especially realistic expectations with your salespeople, also with your management when you run pay media ads. And a good chunk of it is actually building awareness, not necessarily driving the conversion.
So true.
Honestly, it's very, very hard to kind of set that expectations with the management because, like I said, that instant gratification is so important to them. I'm running the ads. I don't understand. Why am I not getting the deal?
Yeah, I think there's a good reason for this kind of an attitude as well, because I would say most marketers 10 years ago kind of grew up in Google ads and in SEO, which was all focused around keywords. So when someone comes to find you, they've told you exactly what it is they're looking for, and you can just give it to them. But then when social ads came on the scene, like with Facebook and with LinkedIn, we're showing ads to people not based off of what they're currently looking for, but whether they're the right kind of person.
We are hoping they are looking for that.
Exactly. But we know every time we compare channels, we see that Google Ads always closes deals the fastest. It's the fastest funnel acceleration.
That's a fair assessment. That's definitely a fair assessment.
The nice thing about LinkedIn, though, is that because we're targeting exactly the right people, LinkedIn always closes the largest deal sizes and the highest profile companies. So it depends on what you need. If you need speed, yeah, Google Ads is where you want to start. But if you want your biggest, most significant deals, LinkedIn Ads is by far and away the one.
Yeah, but it's a long play, right? It takes a long time to get that big fish. So can you talk to us about the different ad options and the format that LinkedIn offers? I know that, of course, banner ad is one option. What else?
Yeah, so LinkedIn has 4 total options. And to be able to see all of them, you need to be on your desktop, not on the mobile app.
Really? So do they do a lot of mobile ads?
Half show up only on mobile. That's what I'm trying to go for.
Okay.
And the other half can show up on all.
Okay.
The first one, this is the first ad format LinkedIn came out with. It's called text ads, and it's only on desktop. It's in the right rail. And if you look, as you're just surfing around linkedin.com, you'll see it's usually a 2-pack of ads sometimes, or sorry, it's usually a 3-pack. Sometimes it's 2, where you'll see 2 or 3 ads all kind of stacked within a little box. And these are one of my favorite ad formats. Yeah, they're great. They are the cheapest ads that you can run. You can pay all the way down to $2 per click and actually get traffic. But because they're over in the right rail, only on desktop, it's kind of hard to spend a whole budget. The next one, this is actually my absolute favorite, is called sponsored content.
Mm.
And these are the ones that show up in your newsfeed. There are several different variants. One is like just the single image ad. That's actually my favorite to start with. But they have a video ad version. They also have a carousel ad version where you can see multiple tiles that you can.
Yeah, like the tile things. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, let me ask one more question. Sorry to interrupt. For this second option, which is the video ad, do you actually have recommended length for that ad? Should that be like 5 seconds or 30 seconds? Do you have any recommendation for that?
So short answer is try to keep your video creative short. I would say like Instagram short, try to keep things under 15 seconds if you can. If your goal is to get people to initiate themselves down a funnel, then we like doing 8-second videos, because as soon as someone watches 2 seconds of it, which counts as a view on LinkedIn, you can also retarget them to say, oh, if they've watched 25% of this 8-second video, then show them the next ad in the sequence.
One more time. Yeah, retargeting. Yes.
The third option is called dynamic ads. And these are, again, only on desktop because they're in the right rail. Mm-hmm. They take the same inventory up, that same like 300 by 250 block that text ads do. But every once in a while, they take away the text ads and they put one of these dynamic ads. And I call these LinkedIn's creepiest ad format, because you may have seen this. They take your profile picture and stick it into the ad. And that's why they call it dynamic.
Yes, I noticed that, especially for recruitment, they put my picture next to like a company's logo and say, hey, you know what? This is like a perfect match. I was like, seriously? No, I don't think so.
Is an entrepreneur really a perfect match for any company? Okay, well, we'll see. And then the fourth option they call sponsored messaging. And these are where you can pay per person that you send to, and it's a message that arrives in their inbox. One version is kind of like an email, and the other version is called a conversation ad, where you can give people options, and based off of what they click, you can then give them more options. So it's kind of like those old choose your own adventure.
This is an email, but it's a paid email. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yep. Okay. Totally.
So let me ask you a question. For this like a paid email, and they will say, oh yeah, hey Pam, you know what? We have this master class. We'd love to actually have you. And what if I respond, say, no, thank you? Does that mean something? Does that mean that they can send out another email? Or does that mean that, okay, they will not target me the next time?
Ooh, good question. Okay, so if you ever get an email that allows you to say, no, I'm not interested, or no, thank you.
Yeah.
That is an email that came from Recruiter or Sales Navigator, not from the ads side of the business.
Oh, never mind. I got it confused. Thank you for correcting me and clarifying that.
What's so cool about it is if you say no, thank you, or not interested, you are taken off of that person's list. They can't contact you again. which is kind of good. If they're being spammy, it's nice.
That's great. That means like, you know what? I'm not interested. Please don't talk to me again. I'm not your lead anyway. So,
Yeah, exactly.
what type of mistakes usually people make when they run ads on their own?
Oh, I have so many good ones I can share. The first one is if you go in to start your first campaign and you click create campaign, there's a whole bunch of options that LinkedIn has set for you that are not in your favor. The first one is as you're defining who your audience is, there will be a little checkbox that says enable audience expansion. And LinkedIn always turns it on for you. But let's be honest, if you're paying a premium for LinkedIn traffic, which you are,
You want to be very focused and targeted.
you give LinkedIn carte blanche saying, oh, stick whoever you want into this audience for me. And it's like, no, if you're paying $8 to $13 a click, you just be ultra specific about who you want to show your ads to.
I love that. That's a great, great feedback. I love that. What about the second mistake?
Second mistake is if you keep scrolling down the ad, you get to the bidding and budgeting section, basically how you're paying for this traffic. And LinkedIn actually makes it really hard to select the bidding option that's most in your favor. The one that they have selected is called maximum delivery. When you hear maximum delivery, you're probably hearing, I'm going to like dump as much of this on someone as I can. That is actually LinkedIn's most expensive way to pay for traffic about 90% of the time. So you have to click the little like show more options, and then they show you manual bidding. Manual cost per click bidding is the best way for you as a marketer to have insurance, to hedge your bets, because you get to say, I am not willing to pay more than $7 per click, or I'm not willing to pay more than $15 per click. And LinkedIn has to honor that. It's a good way to start out. And if you find that your ads are performing really well, sure, you can turn on maximum delivery if you want, but you're probably going to pay significantly less by doing manual.
Don't do that when you're just starting.
Exactly.
I love those advices. Those are wonderful. Give us one more.
The other one is most people, and this is actually really, really important. Most people, when they go onto LinkedIn ads, especially if they've already been advertising on Google, they're like, oh, I'm just going to push people right to demo. I'm going to show an ad that says, click here to talk to our high pressure sales rep, or, click here for a trial or a demo. Yeah. What they're missing is the fact that people on LinkedIn are on their way to do something. They're busy. They're not there to be entertained. And most of the time they're curious. So if you can show them something that is of real interest to them, of real value, that's how you can earn their attention. So starting out with a lead magnet, like here's a free guide or a free checklist or an ebook or join this free webinar. As long as the content is good and people are actually interested, when you gate that, people will submit and become leads. And then your sales team can follow up with them to talk about demos. But if you start out just going right for demo, you'll lose people. They won't even click. Yeah.
You just say something that is eye-opener for me. In general, when I write email marketing, a demand gen copy, if you will. And a lot of time, I really want to gauge people's interest. And the call to action on the email specifically, a lot of time I will say, contact sales if you are interested, or request for demo. I guess for email marketing, and depending on how you write your copy, that might be a very good ending. And also is a very strong call to action. And I probably will apply that to the pay media type of effort as well. But now you just basically said, Pam, don't do that. If you actually run LinkedIn ad, based on your experience of doing so many ads with so many brands, right? Use content as a hook, get them interested, and then you can take on the next step. I like that.
Totally.
Oh, I learned something today. Yay!
Yeah. And it's all about warm and cold audiences. It's all about taking someone who is familiar with you and then asking them to take the next step. It's kind of like we've heard the analogy. It's like proposing marriage on the first date. If the first time someone ever saw your ad, you're saying, talk to our sales rep.
Seriously? Are you saying we should not do that?
Yeah, exactly. But hey, if this is a warm audience, a retargeting audience that you've already stayed in front of, and you're running LinkedIn ads to them, sure, push them right to demo. It's just, you have to earn their attention before they're ever going to considering hopping in.
Earn their trust first. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, couldn't have said it better.
Oh, love it. All right. So Anything else that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I do have a good one here. Something that LinkedIn does better than any other ad platform is it gives you this audience segmentation that I would call almost market research-esque, where here's an example. It'd be really easy for me if I wanted to target marketing decision makers. I could say target all marketing job function with any seniority that's manager or above. And I could have one campaign, put a couple ads in there and serve to that audience.
And then you run another campaign.
Yeah, when I get the results back from this, I won't learn anything. Like there was a lot of different people. There's manager level people, there's director level, there's CMOs in this audience. And I can't tell who liked it and who didn't. So just like you're alluding to, if I instead do 4 different campaigns, one is just marketing managers, another marketing directors, the other one marketing VPs, and then one just for CMOs, I can still run the same 2 ads to all of them. But now what I get is this very focused data back of like, oh, CMOs like this content, or they click cheap, but the sales team's having a hard time getting a hold of them. So we end up getting a lower conversion to sales qualified lead, or insights like that you literally can't get anywhere else. So use it to learn more about your audience. I think it's brilliant.
I love that. So you are basically saying, let me paraphrase really quickly. You are saying that when you run the pay ads, and depending on the platform, but for LinkedIn specifically, when you run the pay ads and try to actually be very targeted in terms of your audience and break it down to a very specific job title, for example, or you can do it by specific region if you want to, but do a very specific job title and then run 4 or 5 ads and see which one actually drive the most conversion. And when you pass that leads to your sales team, you can get a feedback from them which ones actually convert. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use that as a marketing research.
Yeah. And with any other channel, you can't do this. Like Facebook, your targeting is going to be so broad, you can't tell who is like which job titles, which industries are interacting. But on LinkedIn, you can create these, we call them micro segments, little micro segments of every different variation of your audience that you want. And then based off of how they click, how they cost, how they convert, now you're learning who actually is my ideal audience. It's amazing for persona research and like nailing down who your ideal profile is.
If they decide to do it themselves or they try to gain some knowledge out of it, do you offer any free courses or any paid courses that you can share?
I have some really good resources. Anyone who wants to learn about LinkedIn ads, first off, check out my podcast. It's called the LinkedIn Ads Show. Pam will put a link down in the show notes below or whatever.
Well, I will definitely do that.
And if you just type LinkedIn ads into your podcast tool, you'll see the show. It's probably the only one. The next is whenever I try a new ad channel, I'm always surprised by how much it takes to get started, like how much work it is to set up a new ad account and get advertising. So what we did is we created what we call the LinkedIn ad startup checklist. It's the 8 things that you need in order to start advertising today. We created it because it's exactly what I wanted when I first started advertising, and no one gave it to me. So we give it out for free. If you go to b2linked.com/checklist, you can download for free the same guide.
I'm going to put that as a part of the show note. Yeah.
So LinkedIn owns LinkedIn Learning, obviously. They selected me as the author for their course on LinkedIn Learning. So,
oh, really? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually created a course for LinkedIn. They invited me to create
yes.
a marketing plan course, and I got that done. I finished all the recording a couple weeks ago, and my course will be launched on June 22nd.
Yes. We're both authors. Oh, that's so cool.
Yay!
But I'll put the link down in the show notes here on this one as well. But it's the course on LinkedIn Learning for LinkedIn ads. It's only an hour and a half long. I think it costs like $20, or it's free if you've got the whole subscription, obviously. But it's by far the highest quality course for LinkedIn ads that there is out there. And it's also the cheapest. When we eventually come out with our own courses, they're going to cost significantly more than LinkedIn Learning.
I'm going to put a link below so you can check that out. AJ, thank you so much for coming to my show. You've been awesome and sharing such a insightful knowledge and also the tricks and tips and the best practices. So I'm going to end it with another question. So what show are you binge watching right now?
Most excited about right now is called Girls 5 Eva, and I think it's on Peacock. but it was written by Tina Fey. It's really funny.
Excellent. AJ, thank you so much for coming to my show and share a lot of your tips and the lesson learned. Really, really grateful to have you.
Oh, it was my honor to be here. Have me back anytime if you want a round 2 or an update sometime.
Will do. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Never miss an episode of B2B Marketing and More by following us here on YouTube and leave a comment while you're at it. You can also find episodes wherever you get your podcasts.